Okay, good day, grade 10 students. So tapos na po tayo ng units 1, 2, and 3. So now we'll be starting with our unit 4, which is all about the permutations and combinations. So for our first lesson for unit 4, we will have the counting principles. Ayan. So let us first have the definition of terms. So ano nga ba yun? Dapat na words or terms na alam natin when we are dealing with the permutations and combinations. Ayan. So let's first start with the term action. So by definition, action is anything that has a result. So for example, we have a tossing a die. So usually an action or example of an action is playing a game wherein you have possible results. You are either winning, losing, or you will be having a draw. So again, action is anything that has a result. Example, we have tossing a die. Next term is the outcome. So the outcome is the result of an action. So for example, we have an action na tossing a die, and ang kanyang outcomes or possible outcomes niya ay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So ano yung pwedeng lumabas once we do or did the action? Next, we have the sample space. So the sample space is the collection of all the possible outcomes. So lahat ng outcomes na pwedeng lumabas ay nasa sample space. So ano yung pinagkaiba ng outcome sa sample space? So they are almost the same. So specific lang po tayo dun sa sample space na kung saan nandun lahat yung possible outcomes. And we also have the term event. So an event is a collection of outcomes of an action. So it can be a subset of a or it is a subset of a sample space. So say for example, yun pa rin po yung action natin, yung tossing a die, and then we can say that we have event A, which is the odd number. So ano-ano nga ba yung possible results or outcome for event A, which is the odd number. So we have 1, 3, and 5. And yung 1, 3, 5 pong yan ay subset po ng sample space kasi makikita po natin yung 1, 3, 5 dun sa sample space kasi nga po ang sample space natin ay yung totality ng lahat or yung totality ng possible outcomes. So again, event is a subset of a sample space. And so we already know those terms. So let's start with the counting principle. So we have two counting principles. The first one is the addition principle of counting. So if event A can occur in M ways and event B can occur in N ways, then A or B can occur in M plus N ways. So let's see this example for us to better understand the concept of the counting, the addition principle of counting. So this is the problem. Let me read it first. So Double A Bakery has 10 hopya, 14 chocolate cupcakes, and 8 cheese ensaymada left at the end of a day. So Joey rushes in as they are about to close. So how many types of bread can he choose from? So kumbaga po ay si Double A Bakery, meron siya iba't ibang uri ng natirang bread. And then si Joey, gusto niyang pumili ng isa. So ang tanong po dyan, ilan yung kaya or ilan yung kanyang pwedeng pamilian. So this is an example of an additional principle of counting. And how do we solve this one? So kagaya po nung kaninang sa definition natin ng description natin ng addition principle of counting. So we are just going to add po yung ating choices. So since the breads are all different, we can just add the quantities of this bread to find the number of types of breads he can choose from. So we have 10 plus 4 plus 8 is equal to 32. So we can say that Joey has a choice of 32 breads. So yun po yung ating addition principle of counting. So another example. So the SSG requires one student representative from either the first year or the second year or the third year. If there are 28 first years, 35 second year, and 39 third years qualified students, how many different choices for representatives are there? So kumbaga po, isang student representative lamang yung kailangan natin, and we can get it from the first year, either from the first year, the second year, or the third year. So for the solution, so how do we get the answer to this problem? So ganun pa rin po ang ating gagawin since it is considered as an addition principal counting problem. Kasi po ay isang student representative lang yung kailangan natin, and then maalin naman po ang pwedeng maging representative. So pwedeng siya first year, second year, or third year. So add lang natin, we have 28 plus 35 plus 39. So there are 102 choices for representatives. So yun po yung ating addition principle of counting. And hindi naman po kumbaga masyadong natin ginagamit yung addition principle of counting. Next, we have the second counting principle, which is the multiplication principle of counting. So suppose that there are two events and that two events happen in order. If the first event can happen in n ways and the second in n ways after the first happened, then the two events can occur in m times n ways. So kumbaga there are two events na magkasunod pong nangyari. Kasi yung kanina po sa addition principle of counting, so pinagsama sila kasi hindi naman po magkasunod na event. Isang event lang siya and then meron lang po siyang several choices. So the multiplication principle of counting can also be called as the FCP or the fundamental counting principle. So this is also called as the counting rule, and it is a way to figure out the number of outcomes in a probability problem. So again po, FCP and the multiplication principle of counting po are the same lang po. So example po natin ng multiplication principle of counting. So let me read the problem first. So SP's Ice Cream Parlor offers 12 flavors of ice cream which can be served on a waffle, sugar, or plain cone. And how many different single scoop ice cream cones can you possibly buy at the parlor? So kumbaga nagkaroon na po dito ng combination. So hindi naman po kasi tayo pwedeng bumili ng ice cream ng cone lang or bumili ng ice cream ng flavor lang. So dapat po magkasama yung flavor ng ice cream at saka yung kanyang cone. So hindi po siya addition principle of counting. Ano po? Kasi hindi naman po or. Kailangan po parehas po silang magkasama. Ito. So we have several solutions on how we can get the answer to this problem. So our first solution can be through the use of a tree diagram. So we have the waffle cone. Okay, so sa waffle cone, pwede pong meron tayong 12 flavors. We have flavor 1, flavor 2 hanggang flavor 12. So ibig sabihin sa waffle cone pa lang po meron na agad tayong 12 choices. And then kapag sugar cone naman po yung pinili natin, ganun pa din po, we still have 12 choices. We have flavor 1, flavor 2 hanggang flavor 12. So all in all, sa sugar cone, we have 12 choices pa din po. And lastly, kapag plain cone naman po yung pinili natin, ganun pa rin po, hindi pa rin naman po nagbabago yung ating choices ng flavors. We still have 12 flavors to choose from. Ayan. So again po, from waffle cone, we have 12 possible choices. For sugar cone, 12 pa din po, ganun pa rin po. And then sa plain cone po ay ganun pa rin po. So pinagkaiba-iba lamang nila, of course, ay yung cone. So if we have 12 for each cones, so after po natin, through this tree diagram, we can identify that we have 36 possible ways of choosing a single scoop ice cream. So isang flavor lamang. Ang ating isang flavor lamang per order. Ano po? So this is our first solution for this problem. And then we can also use the solution number 2 in finding kung minsan po kasi ay sobrang dami ng choices or kumpara ng flavors, kaya hindi po natin pwedeng laging gamitin yung tree diagram. So ginagamit lang po natin ng tree diagram if konti lamang po yung choices natin. So we can use stages po in our second solution. So for this problem po, we have 2 stages. Ayan. So ano po yung stages natin? So for the stage 1, yung una po nating event is we are going to choose the type of cone. So balikan po natin yung multiplication principle of counting. If we have 2 events and then in order po yung events na yon. So stage 1 natin, yung event 1 natin ay pipili po tayo ng type of cone. And then after we have chosen the type of cone, sa stage number 2 naman po ay yung flavor naman po ng ice cream. So after po nating ma-identify kung ilang stages yung meron tayo, pwede na po nating ma-identify kung ano naman po yung ilan yung choices natin per stages. So stage number 1, ilang type of cone meron tayo? We have the waffle, the sugar, and the plain. So we have 3. So we have 3 possible choices again for our first stage. And then after po natin ma-identify kung ilan yung choices for stage 1, yung stage number 2 naman po. And again, balikan natin, ang stage 2 natin po ay yung flavor ng ice cream. So there are 12 flavors of ice cream. So after natin ma-identify lahat ng choices per stages, so saka po tayo mag-multiply. So we have 3 times 12, the answer is 36. And again, same pa din naman po tayo nakuhang answer. We have 36 possible ways of choosing a single scoop ice cream. So our final answer, there are 36 ways of choosing a single scoop ice cream. So yun po ang gamit natin ng FCP or the multiplication principle of counting. Let's have another example. So in 2014, automobile license plates display 3 letters followed by 4 digits. So take note of the given po. So we have 3 letters followed by 4 digits. So this is the question, how many such plates are possible if repetition of the letters, the first one is allowed. So unahin po natin yung sa first question na ilan po yung possible combination if repetition of the letters is allowed. Ano po? So we are going to use po yung solution number 2 since mas madali po siyang gamitin. So again, identify natin how many stages are there. Ayan, so binanggit kanina that we have 3 letters po and then 4 digits. Ayan, so ibig sabihin po all in all we have 7 stages. So for letter A, we're going to find first yung repetition is allowed po. So again, after ma-identify yung stages, how many choices are there in each stages? So 4 letters, unahin mo natin yung sa ating 3 letters. So we have, since repetition of letters is allowed, we have 26 in our alphabet. So standard po natin, we have 26 letters for our alphabet. So yung second stage natin, 26 pa din, since pwede pong ulitin yung ginamit natin sa unang stage. And then yung third stage natin for the letter is ganun pa din po. So 26, 26, and 26 for the first 3 stages natin na para po sa letters. Then yung remaining 4 po natin ay para naman po sa digits. So for the digits po, ilang digits ba yung meron tayo? So we will start with 0 hanggang 9. So all in all, we have 10 digits. Kaya po, yung ating choices po for this stage po ay 10, 10, 10, and 10 since pwede naman po siyang maulit. So after po again natin ma-identify yung choices per stages, so i-multiply naman po natin sila. So the answer will be 175,760,000 license plates. So again po our steps. So una, identify how many stages, and then identify how many choices per stages, and then multiply po natin. So yun lang po yung ating gagawin. So final answer, if repetition is allowed, there will be 175,760,000 license plates. Next naman po for letter B, if repetitions of letters is not allowed. So hindi po pwedeng magamit yung isang letter ulit or isang beses lang siya pwedeng gamitin. So how many choices in each stages? So again po, hindi naman po nagbabago yung ating standard for the number of letters in our alphabet. So 26 pa rin po yung gagamitin natin. Then for the second stage, since binanggit po na hindi na po pwedeng ulitin yung letter na ginamit dun sa isa, so magiging 25 na lang po siya. Kasi syempre yung isa po, nagamit na po siya dun sa first letter. Kaya 25 na lang po yung natitira natin pwedeng pamilian. And then for the third stage po, 24 na lang siya kasi nagamit na po yung isang letter dun sa una and then yung another letter po sa pangalawa. Kaya po nabawasan na ng dalawa yung choices natin for the third stage. Next naman po, for the digits, ganun pa rin po, we still have 10 digits. And ang binanggit lang naman po na bawal maulit ay letters, kaya po yung ating 4 remaining stages ay ganun pa rin po na 10, 10, 10, and 10. So after natin ma-identify yung number of choices per stages, i-multiply na po natin sila. So we have 26 times 25 times 24 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. The answer will be 156 million license plates. So let's just state our final answer. If repetition of letters is not allowed, there will only be 156 million license plates. So kung gagamitin po natin yung concept pong yun na 3 letters followed by 4 digits, so magkakaroon po tayo ng 156 million license plates na pwede nating magawa. So imagine kapag ganun yung ginamit natin na condition na hindi pwedeng maulit yung letter. So ganyan kadami yung pwede nating ma-create na license plates. Ayan po. So that's it. That is our second example. Okay, let's have another one more example. So in how many ways can we select 2 books from different subjects from among 7 distinct math books, 5 distinct science books, and 4 distinct English books? So dalawa lamang po yung books na pwede natin pamilian, pero we have 3 different choices or 3 different categories na pamimilian. So paano nga ba natin to isosolve? Ayan. So this problem requires a combination of addition and multiplication counting principles. So since dalawang books po kasi yung ating kailangan lamang, pero we have 3 categories, so it requires a combination of both the addition and the multiplication counting principles. So using the multiplication principle, we can select 2 books in the following ways. So if we have 2 books, so it can be from one coming from the math and one coming from the science. So yung combination nila pag ng math at saka science, since we have 7 math books and 5 science books, so there are 35 ways para po magkaroon tayo kumbaga ng combination for math and science. Same din po with our science and English. We have 5 science books and 4 English books. So all in all, we have 20 possible ways on how we can have 2 books from science and English. And then from math and English naman po, we have 7 math and then 4 English choices. So multiply lang natin sila. 7 times 4, we have 28 possible ways. So again, from math and science, we have 35 ways kapag po yung math and science books yung pinamilian natin. And then kung science at English naman po yung combination, we have 20 possible ways. And kapag math at English naman po, we have 28 ways. So ginamitan natin sila ng multiplication principle of counting. So since the 3 sets of selections are disjoint, we may use the addition principle. Or yun na po yung pwedeng pamilian. Ano po? Yung basta po 2 books lamang yung pipiliin natin. Kaya po, i-add po natin yung 3 sets na yan. So we have 35 plus 20 plus 28, and the answer po is 83. Therefore, for our final answer, there are 83 ways of selecting 2 books from among the science, math, and English books. Ayan. So that is our final answer. Okay, so that will be all for this video discussion. So yun po yung ating fundamental counting principle. This is an introduction po in permutations and combinations. So if you have any other questions or clarifications regarding this topic, so do not hesitate po to message po your subject teacher. So that will be all. God bless and keep safe.